Today, it's Edwin's Monday evening property rant. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to this post covering finance property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. It's Monday, and I'm joined by Edwin. Viva la Revolution!
That's it, Martin. Viva la Revolución, as they say in back in the homeland. El Salvador comes to the rescue, Martin. I told you, you've got to have faith. Kryptonians have faith, and we have hope. So El Salvador lives up to its name. The savior comes to the rescue of Bitcoin and actually makes it as a legal tender.
Yes, it's just a pity the price went down again, but there we go. That's another story.
Come on, name me an economy in Latin America that's doing well.
Well, that's also true.
Apart from the cocoa economy, that is.
Yeah, that's true. But it is interesting, yes, because they've basically announced it as legal tender.
Yeah, legal tender. I'm telling you. What's next? Ecuador, Colombia, Mexico. There you go, Mexico. Now we can only look. You gotta give it to us Latinos. We get out there, we get in. Yeah, we get into it. Yeah, boots and all.
Yeah, boots and all. Yeah, well, we'll see how the revolution pursues. So, and interestingly, Yellen has also come out with a bit of revolutionary talking as well, which is that actually a bit of inflation and higher interest rates will be good for us.
Oh, look, of course. I'm already starting to plant the carrots, Martin. So I was going to push for $4.99 a kilo. I'm going to sell them at $9.99 a kilo by the time the Yellen is finished with this.
Yeah, it's just remember that carrots take a little time to grow, right? So you'll have to just plan ahead, right? Plant them weekly so you don't get them all coming up at once.
That's right. But look, all jokes aside, Martin, we've got some reports of up to some people are reporting 40% rises in some essential goods year on year. I mean, this is revolutionary stuff, mate. This is what starts and sparks revolutions when you've got such high inflations. And I'm talking literally now. This is bad stuff.
Yeah, it certainly could be. It's interesting. Lumber futures dropped dramatically, right? Having reached a spike in the US on the Chicago Merc, they're now significantly down. So I'm not sure whether it's real or imaginary, or whether it's coming or going. But there's a lot of uncertainty around. And when the Secretary of the Treasury says interest rates higher would be good for us, I think that's an interesting indicator.
Well, okay, it is, and as we've been sharing now for a number of weeks, and as early as last week, where we spoke about the fact that manufacturing goods and goods in China itself are becoming more and more expensive. So let alone what we start importing or we'll continue to import from China, we're going to be paying a lot more. So if your fridge is on the blink and your dishwasher is on the blink and your microwave oven's on the blink, well, you better go out and buy it, but don't go out and buy it from Harvey Norman. Go buy it elsewhere, or Domain for that matter. Go buy it elsewhere. But Martin, it's not only that, but the cost of shipping and everything else. But there's a lot of uncertainty, of course, around the supply chains. How broken are they really? I know a lot of builders in our game, and a lot of builders and developers have ran out of materials. They can't start projects. We've got clients waiting on certain goods in order to have projects finished. There's a lot of reporting, a lot of chatter on Twitter, on the Twitter sphere, and a lot of our followers there are posting some, both interesting and alarming incidents of projects being delayed for so long. Now, how long will these projects that the governments have started? How long will they go for? And at what pace will they continue to be rolled out, given the fact that a lot of materials are in short supply? Now, we've spoken at length about waffle pods and timber and everything else. I mean, there'll be PVC pipes for plumbing. You name a product that's used in construction, and I dare say that those goods have gone up in price by anywhere between 10 and 20%, with another hike coming the end of June.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I've got a few people anecdotally saying that the contracts that they thought they'd actually locked in, which weren't quite fixed price contracts, the builders come back and said, well, we're going to have to put it up, simply
Well,
because of all the
that's
cost of
something that
materials.
I've been speaking to our clients with regards to their renovations and granny flat additions that they're putting on their properties, and I've made it very clear with them months ago, and I said, make sure, regardless of who you use, whether you use one of our recommended builders or anybody else for that matter, but get a fixed price contract, because things are going to get more expensive. And look, sure as hell, it's happening. It's rolling out, and it's happening before our eyes. But the alarming thing, Martin, is the cost. How much are these costs going to go up? Now, Yellen and a lot of other people on the Twitter sphere are talking about, oh yeah, look, it's okay for it because it's just going to be inflation for a short period of time, and then prices will go back down again. Really? And if they do, are they really going to go back down as far as what they were last year or earlier in the year? I don't think so, Martin. I don't know about you, but I don't think that people are going to get once they get used to charging X amount of dollars, then they're going to go back to Y. Just because the inflation's gone down, or things have or government thinks it's a little bit easier now, so we can charge less. Once you start collecting that kind of money, or the rise hikes, I mean, okay, prices have risen by 40%, but I would say people won't drop the prices 40% again. They'll only drop them 5 or 10% at best.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm going to do a cross promote here because I released a show earlier on with Damien Klassen from Walk with the World Fund and Nucleus Wealth, and Damien's gone through this same argument about inflation and what's driving it, and he's got this theory that there is this super cycle relating to supply chains, but actually a lot of it will shake itself out. So he's not as convinced as some that in fact those higher prices will stick. So, I mean, I don't think anybody knows, to be honest, Edwin. There are lots of indicators pointing one way, some indicators pointing the other way, highly uncertain. But I do know this, that if people can essentially sell for higher prices and those prices stick, then prices will go up at the pump, as it were, or prices will go up wherever you get buying. And that is harder to reverse because, of course, some people don't like to have to cut prices. So we'll see. I think this is all to play for yet. So I'm not convinced, as many, that inflation is really coming. But when Yellen says, well, high rates will be quite good, or higher rates will be quite good, well, you begin to wonder.
Yeah, look, as you say, Martin, those prices are going to stick. But let's also keep in mind and let's start talking a little bit more about what's happening in China. I haven't heard a lot other than from our WeChat chatters, the fact that a number of regions in a number of the cities there are in lockdown. Guangzhou has had major issues with this new strain, or this the Indian strain of COVID, and it's creating a lot of havoc, and there's a lot stop starts there as well. Hong Kong, I believe, is also going through through a lot of issues at the moment with the new strain, and so there's how many more stop starts are we going to have? And China being the biggest producers of goods that we certainly absorb, so it may not affect a lot of the rest of the world, but we're certainly going to have a huge. It's going to certainly have a huge impact with us. But so therefore, I think that these price hikes are going to stick, and they're going to stick for a very long time, given all the other circumstances and all the other mishaps that are happening in China. Now, that's providing nothing else happens, providing nothing else major happens. It's going to be steady as she goes at these prices. So how much higher can they go is the question that I've been asking a lot of my colleagues.
No, I think it's a great question to ask, and I think people need to prepare for the potential of higher prices and act accordingly. But an interesting, also another story from up that way was some of these unusual conversions that people are making, right, from our WeChat chatters. Some really interesting examples.
Well, yeah, yeah. This is, what's coming, what's around the corner for us, for the, what for our the poor bastards that are going to are getting left on the sideline with regards to housing. Is this, we have to ask ourselves, is this the future? Lack of materials, high prices. So are we going to be living in this wonderful conversions that our WeChat chatterers are seeing over in Hong Kong? And like one of the things for sure, Martin, is the fact that DFA and the Monday Night Rants are making a big impact, and these are the WeChat chatterers from Hong Kong that have sent these pictures over for us to share tonight. So keep on sending them, and keep on sending us some of the stuff that's happening in your part of the world. This funny construction, but you really got to ask yourself the question: how real can it become here in Australia as well?
Well, that's right. And so the picture, which would have showed now on the screen, presumably that's a kitchen with a toilet under the hood, as it were.
Yeah, under the bench top. That's correct. It's perhaps where a lot of people would put the dishwasher.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, I suppose it's what you call a full cycle, right?
That's true. But then again, we've shared photos of homes here in the North Shore, and in the predominantly in the North Shore, and in the northwest region, where there be homes that have had, we've identified 3 kitchens in one home, in a 4-bedroom home, where they've separated, where they've put a kitchen in the laundry. So there's been some interesting scenarios as well, and that's what happens when there is a lack of affordable and good accommodation. And this is where you and I have been speaking for quite a while, with regards to the flaws and the hypocrisy of the government, and the lethargy that the governments have adopted over the decades to provide affordable, suitable housing for its citizens. It's shameful. And although we laugh about these examples of what's happening overseas, look, they're in our backyard. I've taken photographs of garages that have been converted into makeshift granny flats, and in not too long ago, 4 years ago, that were being rented. They were being rented in the West for $300 a week. These are garages that have just had makeshift conversions, and people living in absolute squalor, and the authorities haven't really acted effectively in a lot of these issues. So tenants, renters have really been left behind with a lot of the policy changes and proposals that the governments have had over the last 2 decades.
No, I agree, Edwin. And, not only is the lack of affordable housing the critical issue, and that doesn't mean giving first-time buyers a slight leg up to get them to borrow even more, right? I'm talking about real affordable housing of quality construction that actually is built for the long term. It doesn't mean cramming people into more and more small high-rise places that are badly constructed and badly ventilated, right? I mean, there's a whole significant crisis there. And then the other issue is that the regs aren't actually necessarily being policed very well. So I agree with you that there are lots of places where, building conversions and changes have actually been made to property that wouldn't comply with the best quality standards, and yet they're there. And it's quite often a way of getting more people per square metre, as it were, into a property. And some of it's actually linked to the investment sector quite strongly. I see that quite often when I speak with people, that in trying to create an extra dollar or two from the property investment sector, they squeeze another living unit in and break various regulations in the process. And that's a lesson, by the way, and a warning for anybody thinking about buying an old investment property. Chances are there could well be some illegal construction gone on to just up the yield a bit more.
Well, that's right. And the ABC brought out an article, look, with regards to what's happening, the ongoing saga, and hence the reason why I've got my banner in the background there saying, Parramatta remembers, and Twitter remembers Parramatta quite well, because there's a lot of banter on the Twitter sphere with regards to apartment owners suing Sydney developer Topolace over dozens of defects in new Parramatta buildings. How long have I been talking about the lax construction and regulations, or the regulatory bodies being so lax in policing the construction around these areas, not only Parramatta but in other parts of Sydney, where there are buildings, high-rise buildings face water issues and every other defect, because we're just digging too deep into areas, into ground that we shouldn't be digging as deep. And then you've got further articles of in the ABC, talking about with regards to the concerns raised in Senate inquiry over the safety of products used in Australian buildings. I mean, this isn't new. This is something that we've been talking about for the last 15 years. In the use of imported materials over the last, since 2015, even back then, I was talking about the issues around the gyprock that we were importing, and because everything became cheaper and easier to get access to, predominantly cheaper, so that we can put out these dog boxes that are really not suitable and not fit for purpose.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a very unfortunate and worrying story, right? So we know that there are a number of flammable cladding materials still being used on even new construction now. We also know that some of those imported materials will contain asbestos. In fact, I did a show some days ago about the real issues of asbestos, and the fact that 4,000 people a year on average in Australia die directly from asbestos exposure. So it's not an old disease. It's not one that relates just to old industry practice. It actually still relates to current buildings today, and anybody actually doing DIY potentially can be exposed. So this is a really big deal. And I just don't understand why it is that the regulatory frameworks that are there are not actually being policed and are not actually being executed correctly. But more importantly, all those materials, surely we can't just rely on trust. There should be a mechanism to test materials as it comes into the country to make sure that it's compliant with local standards.
Well, they're meant to be, and we're told that they are. But can I be candid and say, America were also told that everything was okay in the Wuhan lab? But so we, if you talk to the powers that be, we, from here and over there, where we mainly import from, they say everything's okay. It all complies. Look, there are two buildings in the city that I know of that got completed over a year ago, before the pandemic, late 2019, they were being completed, and I know that they're going to have major issues in the future with regards to the sprinkler system, because although the people that supplied, the company here in Australia, the building company that supplied and installed the sprinkler system in these buildings, believe that everything that would build to specs, they won't. And the tolerance levels over in China, you can fall by up to 10%, whereas here we don't consider that as being adequate. Our tolerance is zero, basically, but over there it's different. So you could say that, well, it was fit. It was fit for purpose, maybe theirs, but now, whilst they were erecting these buildings, they were in almost near completion, when they were testing the some of the floors with the sprinkler system. Now an elbow got loose and it flooded a part of the building. Now that's not reported. It is documented, but it wasn't reported by the mainstream media or any other source, other than I know, because I know the individual that people that are connected with individuals that installed that sprinkler system. Now, should anything happen, God forbid, in that building, and they try to activate the sprinkler system with all that pressure going in there, those pipes are just going to burst because they're the builder, the people that install them, they haven't gone back to rectify it. They're just basically what they did do was uh, channel off their assets from one entity to another entity should anything happen in the future, and that's the norm. Martin, that's the norm as to what building companies and companies that are going to be held accountable in future for mishaps that are occurring. We aren't able to chase them because their assets have been disappeared and put elsewhere. So that's the nature of it. Yeah, and it's this lax attitude by the government policies.
Yeah, and unfortunately, building firms appear, build, and then disappear, as you say, and then they switch their assets to another new entity, and then off they go again, right? And there's nothing to stop that. And the other point there is that the self-certification and self-checking processes that are meant to be part of the way that things happen now, because of course it's all been outsourced from the local authorities to basically say, well, you can go and prove to us, produce the pieces of paper, right? Unfortunately, producing pieces of paper is easy. It doesn't necessarily correlate with what reality is when you actually look at the stuff that's gone in real builds. And unfortunately, many of those defects don't come up on day one, right? As you say, until something goes wrong. So when you actually need to use the fire suppressant system and something doesn't work, right? Or years down the track when all the cracks have started to appear, and then somebody says, "Well, hang on a moment, who's responsible for that?" And they look around, and of course the builder's gone. I mean, this is a disgraceful state of affairs, and not just in New South Wales, I would say pretty much all states across Australia. And by the way, I've also been talking with people in New Zealand and some other countries around the place too, and they've got similar issues. So this is actually an industry-wide, maybe even global issue relating to the poor quality of construction, building to a price, at any price, except that the price of this ultimately could be lives, and that's disgraceful in my view.
Look, it is, Martin, and this is why you and I've been saying for many months, for years, that when you're looking at buying, you got to do all your research, and research doesn't just go as far as asking the agent what he or she thinks is wrong with the place. There are regulations, there is legislation, and there are rules that professionals have to follow. But unless you understand them, you won't know them, and hence we say that buying property or selling property can be very adversarial. So therefore, you've got professionals that try to hide as much of the truth, whether it's price discovery, whether it's issues or in relation to the property, or material fact in relation to the property. You've got ways to professionals know how to get around the system, how to get around regulations, and they do. We see it day in, day out with underquoting. We see it with these bullshit building and pest reports that get given out, and people are relying on this because nobody really bothers to check. Other than if you've got a professional on the other side of the fence helping you out, particularly if you're a newcomer. And this is the sad truth, Martin, is where a lot of people, the majority being first-home buyers, are not only getting duped into believing the bullshit guides, but also being duped into believing that the homes are okay and fit for purpose, when in actual fact, 6 months down the track, a year down the track, or 2 years down the track, or even months down the track, all that critical stuff, which affects your health, is going to come back and it's going to reappear. And guess what? Now you're stuck in a property where you need to do a lot of rectification, and a lot of it, yes, is around high rise, but there's a lot also with the older properties and with the bad management of a lot of these older properties. And this is why. In the article that we're also going to unpack, this is why a lot of the older generation don't want to move away, because they feel comfortable where they are, and there is nothing else in the area that's being built or that they would consider worthy to go and live in. So therefore, they can sell their home that it's too big, but rather to downsize to, or rather, they prefer to have family move back in with them to take advantage. So it's a vicious circle that hasn't been addressed properly by local, state, and federal governments because of the addiction to council contributions, to stamp duty, and every other tax in between.
Yeah, to say nothing of the odd paper bag and notes under the counter, but we won't go there, eh?
Recyclable bags, Martin.
Oh, okay.
Get with the program. Old paper bags, that's old school. Now we're using recyclable bags.
I'm pleased to hear it. Yeah, no, it is a big issue. And, those ABC stories, I think, really do underscore a very significant set of issues that we've touched on a few times before. But folks, the message is, if you are thinking of buying, there are some critical questions that you need to ask, as we've been discussing. And in fact, in coming weeks, Edwin, I'll be chatting a bit independently, but maybe talking about some of the services that you guys can provide, because actually there's a real crying need out there for some help, and many people need the help. So.
Yeah, look, and we're able to help a number of different parties along the way, and as I said, also being able to help a lot of people that have looked for tenancies, or have had issues with the property managers and not having the bonds released and so forth. So it's my heart goes out, like I said, to a lot of these first home buyers that are getting gypped in many ways, but there are also a number of people that it's the second home or the third purchase of a home. They've upsized, downsized, whatever, that also need assistance and don't know, or don't know where to look, because everything has become, it's smoke and mirrors. And unless you know where to look, unless you know how to find things, it's becoming harder and harder. But yet the internet and access to information is meant to be easier, but it's almost these systems that have been built now, that have been put out there, that are meant to support the individuals, they're not. They're making it harder and harder, and these bigger systems that absorb all these other all these newcomers, they just become bigger, and unless you're paying through the nose to access some of the documentation, you can't get access to a lot of documents, and it's becoming harder and harder to get documents out of council, or to chase documents in council with regards to extensions, renovations, approvals, new construction. It's like, things are being lost, things are being misplaced. It's crazy. It's a crazy world, Martin. It really, really is crazy. Or is it really meant to be this way so that there's more controls on us?
Yeah, and just, there's an anecdote that you were going to share, I think, with a property manager, basically, who was representing a heater as being one type of heater when it was a completely different type of heater, and a very dangerous type of heater.
Yeah, look, one of our friends, our client, sent me an email and said, we've just wanted to share a story with you, and I thought I'd share it with our audience, and that is that we helped him purchase a home just on about a year ago, and he said, the ex-rental that we were at, and I quickly wrote back and said, don't tell me there's been loose fill asbestos in that property and nobody told you. He goes, no, it wasn't as bad as that. And basically what had happened was he was in a house in the North Shore, and it had an old heater. Now the property manager told this family that the heater was an oil heater, but not to use it because there were some issues around it. So they were in that property for just over 2 years, whilst they were looking at buying in the North Shore. And you know what, Martin? The thing is that they obviously left, they vacated, and they only just found out through the new tenants there on a Facebook page, local Facebook page in that area, that the new tenants of the property reported that it actually wasn't an oil heater, it was a kerosene heater, and one of their children had accidentally turned it on. Whether or not the agent told them not to turn it on, or I don't know the full story, but all I know is that one of the children of the new tenants in this property actually turned the heater on, and they had kerosene fumes throughout the house, and for about 2 weeks. Now, The story doesn't end there. But not only they find out that it wasn't an oil heater, it's an actual kerosene heater that was faulty, but our old clients were living in a house with a 200-litre tank of kerosene alongside the position alongside their home. So anything could have happened.
Wow.
So that's it's concerning, to say the least.
Yeah, and that's just another example of things you've got to look out for, right? You got to go in skeptically, right, rather than going and then admiring the paintwork and the views and everything else, right? Go in skeptically and look at everything, because there are unfortunately many stories of things not being the way they should be, and some of them can be quite deadly.
That's correct, and this is where it comes back to agents should know the properties very well. But look, I dare say, Martin, that 50 to 60% of property managers don't know their properties as well as they should, and are not complying to the new standards, to the new regulations that got brought out March last year, and they haven't checked them. Look, needless to say, Martin, that I know agencies. George reported on Twitter that there's an agency in the Central Coast that from their, 600 rent roll, 300 of them did not, 300 of them failed to comply with the safety regulations around smoke alarms.
Mm.
That is startling. Now, I know another agency that in the West that has recently, out of all their property management, I don't know exactly how many they have, but 50% also failed. In other words, in this case, I know that the 50% that failed, in actual fact, didn't have smoke alarms. So we're not talking about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Martin. We're talking about this has just happened over the last 2 months.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, and disturbing if you think that 1 in 2 properties from that survey, which might be statistically accurate or inaccurate, but let's say 1 in 2 have issues and are actually non-compliant. That's if you apply that across Australia, that means half the properties out there potentially for rent are actually defective. I mean, that probably sounds ridiculously high, but in practice probably is not far off the mark.
No, it's not. But when you now put in the situation where, as we've been saying, that homes are very appealing because of the shift in what's happened with this pandemic and ongoing concerns, as look at what's happening in Victoria for that matter, in shutdowns and lockdowns and everything else. So all this uncertainty has made people realise or think to themselves, well, I don't really want to live in an apartment anymore. God forbid I get stuck with my partner or my kids or my pet or whatever in this 2-bedroom 4x4. I don't want to be caught up in this situation. So they move to a home, a terrace or a townhouse or a villa or something with a bit more space. So they're becoming high demand. So when you start getting 30, 40 applicants to one property, any shit gets rented. Like we've gone back to 2017. We've gone back to 2017-18, where anything was being rented, and this is going back to the granny flat example that I mentioned earlier, Martin, where granny flats I saw in Doonside, Blacktown, in the Blacktown LGA, renting for $300 a week, and they were makeshift granny flats because it was old fibro garages that have been standing in the property for 50, 60 years that have been converted into so-called granny flats. This is the stuff that we're going into. And again, this is why I get very, very heated and very agitated with the lax approach that the state government has had and federal government has had, and even local governments have had with regards to housing, affordable housing and adequate housing, not so much just affordable housing, but adequate housing as well. And this is the aftermath of decades of mismanagement. Now we're going to see a lot of these stories come come to fruition, a lot of these issues are gonna fester and are gonna rise. But you know what? At the end of the day, Martin, people are still going to rent these properties, unfortunately, because what else is there other than going back to a dog box that's mold infested or has bad mechanical ventilation anyway.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, people have Hobson's choice, as they say in the UK sometimes. In other words, no choice at all, right? They got to grab it because that's all there is. Although, actually, I have a feeling that some of the people watching our shows might be thinking about the mountains looking really attractive, judging by the fact that there seem to be way more people going up to the mountains and looking to rent up there to try before they buy, right?
Well, that's right. That's one of the phenomena that I've been hearing more and more with agents in the mountains. Because I've been talking to them about the open house inspections. This is for rental properties, and the consensus seems to be that a lot of the applicants that they're getting are from the big smoke, Martin, the big smoke, and down in Sydney, and the applicants have actually a lot of them that are turning up are people that are looking at change of lifestyle, but also renting in the area to see how they would feel, how they would live, how whether they could put up with the extremes, the weather extremes, and the lifestyle. So yeah, they are basically trying it out before they commit to buying, which is it's interesting to see the many people do a tree change and doing it first step as a rental to independent. Obviously, you can break a lease at any time. There's break clauses in the leases, so it wouldn't be hard to make the transition if they like it to purchase before it gets too hot.
Well, I reckon what they're doing is they're seeing whether the carrots will grow there or not. Right?
I'm telling you, Martin, I'm on a winner here. Carrots, and when my greenhouses go up, there'll be no stopping us up here. We're just going to go all out. Yeah, legal stuff, legal tomatoes. None of that funny tomato plant.
Okay, right. And you can assure me that those greenhouses aren't going to be converted into granny flats?
No, I've got containers, Martin. Containers. That's the approach. Containers, 40-foot containers are stackable. So I figured you can get more stackable containers on a block of land than what you will greenhouses. You can't stack greenhouses, but you can stack containers. Isn't that how they built Opal Tower and Mascot Tower?
That's right. Handy hint 44, right? Well, Edwin, as always, I think, amongst the banter, some really, really important messages here for people, right? Because, we want people to be cautious when they actually look at property, whether it's for renting or whether they're purchase. Not trying to put people off, but there are some deadly important questions, literally, that need to be asked, and some questions that have to be explored to make sure that you don't get caught. And, if our conversations help our followers to make better choices, then we've achieved our objective, haven't we?
Oh, that's right. And look, even for rentals, go in, check it out, look around, do what I say, the touch test, feel the walls, to feel how cold they are, particularly outside of the wet areas or behind the wet areas. Feel how cold they are to see if there's any dampness coming up or any issues with the shower recess areas. The smell test, does it smell moldy, particularly if it's just been cleaned up? Even there are some properties that no matter how much you clean them, no matter how much you prepare them, the mold just lingers on, sticks on the carpet, sticks everywhere in the. So you can do these are just simple tests, and always have a torch with you so as you can get a better idea. Get to the opens earlier than everybody else, so you can have more of an opportunity to look around with less traffic, particularly in the rental space. As I'm hearing more and more for homes, there's a hell of a lot of people turning up for home open for inspections in rentals, and get there earlier. And 20 minutes in some cases is not even early enough. other tips, tips, things like that, you could do for yourself, and you can test things out and ask the questions. Don't be frightened to ask the property managers, serious questions. Ask them if they know, because if you are the candidate that is accepted for that tenancy, and you've asked the agent that question, and that is an issue that arises in the future, you can bring them to task.
Absolutely, and perhaps get it in writing, and also look in the public areas and in the garages and in the basements as well, right?
Yeah, just don't go sticking your head too far into the subfloor areas. You don't know what creeps under some of these homes. I reckon there's some crocodiles running around in the Sutherland Shire, Martin. I'm convinced.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Edwin, always great to catch up with you. Thank you very much, and we look forward to doing it all again next week.
Looking forward to it, Martin. Pleasure.
See you then. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers.